Hey guys, Melon Popper here again. I wanted to go over the new Assetto Corsa EVO patch with you. I have noticed a significant performance increase. I used to have to run the game at the lowest details possible to get the best frame rate. Now I'm able to, with the very same configuration on my end as far as the hardware, I'm able to get about the same frame rate with all the details on, almost everything on Ultra. So I want to show you that. I want to show you in 2D first. I call it 2D. You may call it 3D or flat panel, but non-VR. And then we'll fire it up in VR and we'll show you what that looks like. All right, so right off the rip, let's just fire up a set of Corsa EVO without anything else going on. Mind you, I am recording. I've got my recording set to use my processor primarily rather than the GPU, so that should help. But mind you that the frame rate may be a little bit lower than another computer that may not be recording. All right, so let's just go into here. I've been playing in the open mode. This is the car I've been playing with here. But you can see the frame rate, it's silky smooth here. Actually, let me turn on the overlay. Now, my capture may not grab the overlay, so you may not see it. So I'm just going to give you the numbers. But all right, it's in the upper right hand corner for what it's worth. I see it in the recording. Maybe it'll show up for you guys. Let me blow that up. Large. Let's see, size. Let's just go 200% for now, since that's kind of the purpose of the video performance. Now I want to switch to VR. You may not see the correct numbers, but I can call them out to you best. Anyway, so in an ideal world with VR, you're taking what's on the screen here and you're splitting it with a slightly left angle and a slightly right angle. So you basically have to render the game two different times to get the VR experience. That's how you get the stereoscopic view and get the depth perception. So the frame rate I'm getting now, which is about 110 to 120 while recording, the best case scenario for VR is going to be about half of that because you're going to run the game twice. So in VR, if I can get 50 frames per second or 60 frames per second, that's wonderful. You get down in the sub 30s, now I'm feeling a little nauseous, a little choppy. So I think we're in a good spot now. So in any case, under the settings and video, we'll just briefly go over it. So my desktop resolution is 3440 by 1440p. This is an ultra wide. Got my frame rate capped at 240. That's what my monitor can do. We don't run VSync, and we don't run it in full screen, so I can go over to my other monitor. Now when I go into VR, for whatever reason, this resolution cannot be kept there. It goes down to like 1080p, I believe. We'll see in a minute. And that only affects the desktop display. So it doesn't need, I don't need this kind of high resolution because I'm going to be looking through the VR goggles that has its own separate resolution. So I think maybe that's why they have it that way when you go to VR. You don't need to push this many pixels if you're not even looking at your monitor. So anyway, what I did was went to full ultra this time, guys. Usually it's lowest possible, and then turn on a little bit of anti-aliasing. I used to do this, and then we would do that. I have a 24 gig video card. I should mention my specs. It's a AMD 7900 XTX video card. It's putting out about 375 watts at full tilt, and I don't have any sharpening added or anything extra on it. It's just raw, and we're not inserting any frames with frame generation or any of that either. So this is how I used to set it up. Basically everything was pretty darn low. I think we turned on a little, maybe, no, because they fixed the shadows and you didn't have to crank it to the moon anymore. I did turn on a little bit of grass just so it wasn't just flat. I don't like depth of field. I don't like motion blur. And I think I was turning the mirrors up a little bit maybe. And that was about it. as far as the amount of detail I could turn on. So the lighting was never that great. The quality, you know, a lot of pop-in issues and things like that were going on. All right, but now I've been able to run it with everything turned all the way up. In fact, we can turn that on up too. As you can see, this is how I ran it last night in testing. I just set it to ultra and was like, well, let's let it eat and see what it does. Well, it does real well now. I'm getting about the same frame rate as the previous patch, but now I've got all the details on. And as far as the mirrors, I've got it set on multi, but for whatever reason, it never renders out the right mirror, the passenger side mirror. The left and the center, if you have a car that has a center, a rear view mirror, those are working. So anyway, let's go back a step here. We'll just get straight into a race, just real briefly, show you what it looks like on the grid, with the full grid. All right, so let's go to drive, yeah, single player. Let's get off Brands Hatch. Let's look at something a little more interesting. How about some Laguna Seca? Go down the corkscrew. Whether I've got it set to static so it doesn't accidentally go into rain. I don't want that right now. And then I like the scattered clouds one pretty well. Clear is almost too clear. Broken clouds looks pretty good, but it can have some dark spots. Scattered is pretty nice. It's a good mix. And I like my grip. So I just start the track condition with it already having a lot of rubber on it. And that's about it for those settings. I've already got my car chosen. As far as the assists, manual transmission with my paddle shifters. This is the Fanatic CSL DD. This is probably considered the entry level setup from Fanatic. I believe these are about $450 to $500 shipped at one time when I grabbed it. So I'm not sure what the current price is, but it's been a really nice setup. It's a direct drive. They have a 5 Newton meter model and they have an 8 Newton meter model. I chose to get the 8 model. I don't like to drive it at 8. It feels like driving a dirt track car on pavement with, you know, ultra wide grippy tires and no power steering. It's way too much. So I usually turn it down to about 40 or 50%. I feel like a big motor, but running it lower power, it's probably gonna last forever. Okay, so a lot of automatic stuff here as far as these settings. Throttle blip. I might actually turn that off. Ideal line. I've not even turned that on yet, and we don't use stability control. It's basically the pro setting with a couple things tweaked. All right, so let's go to a quick race. Again, this is just 2D, 3D flat panel, not VR yet. We should see this GPU board power come on up to 375. Let me check my tuning settings. So I've got my CPU. Ignore this. This is not right for whatever reason. It's actually locked to 4.5 gigahertz. So pull up Task Manager. I'm not sure if you guys will see it, but I think it will because I've got it. Right now we're doing that desktop capture. So yeah, you can see the CPU. I've got it locked at 5.4 in the BIOS. And instead of hyperthread, I've just got it doing the 8 cores, the real cores. For gaming, I think that's better. Now, if you're doing video editing or something, you'll probably want to go back into the BIOS and turn on hyperthreading so all the virtual cores are helping with throughput. There's our GPU usage, pretty high. RAM usage 15.8. Memory. This hard drive will do up to 14,500 transfer rate. It's the fastest hard drive you can buy right now. That's the model right there. In any case, that's what we're running off of. And we've got it down to the only things that are using GPU. I went through all my Web browsers, I went through all my applications, every one of them, and told them do not use the GPU. Only the ones that obviously have to render something are doing it. So that makes it where Assetto Corsa EVO is really the only thing that's truly using much of the GPU. And I think that's important because there's a lot of apps like web browsers and stuff, and Google Chrome. I've got a bunch of tabs open and stuff. If it's using GPU, it can be taxing, and you throw away 3% here, 5% here, and you got another app doing it here. Next thing you know, you're down, 10, 15, 20 frames when you already only have about 50 to start with. So it's important. All right, so let's go to Drive. And we're just going to do a lap, see what it looks like frame rate wise. Okay, wheel was not turned straight. This is a full grid. I feel like the field of view is off a little bit. I actually have not played much in 2D. I think I've got the field of view turned up to like 90 because of VR. So maybe they need to incorporate a separate field of view slider for VR and 2D so you can go back and forth. But this looks kind of crazy wide. Alright. So I've got the AI set up to be on the safe setting, but as you can see, it's still pretty floppy sometimes. So 85 frames, 88 through here. And again, this is 3440 by 1440p. Basically, the ultra detail settings. It's beautiful as it can look in the current patch. Down into the corkscrew. One thing I should mention about the force feedback, I have noticed that I don't feel like much vibration at all. Like I can run over these rumble strips and stuff. I can't really feel anything. It feels kind of dead. Now there's feedback in the where it's fighting, the wheel. In fact, it'll damn near pull your wrist off. Put your fingers in there and you hit a wall, so you gotta be careful. It's a very strong motor. But I'm just not feeling the fine details, and I didn't see a slider in there for just that. Only a force feedback setting. So yeah, we're running around 80 frames here at Ultra. So naturally you can go into the video settings and pump those numbers up. Also, with AMD software, if you're just running 2D, you can go to the gaming tab, and then AMD Fluid Motion Frames 2.1. This will inject new frames, artificial frames. I do search mode high and quality, so it adds frames but keeps them very crisp. Alright, so now we're going from 80 frames. As you can see, we're effectively getting 145 now, and our frame time doesn't change, but it does add frame generation lag. So you take your base frame time plus your frame gen lag, so we're looking probably more like almost 16 milliseconds of frame gen lag. That's still pretty acceptable, because you'll see it in VR it's even higher than that. Instead of, we were getting, what, 80 frames? I promise I can drive that. So now we're staying, well over 100 frames at all times. I mean, that's a beautiful driving experience. For point of reference, because Forza Motorsport is basically an ugly port from Xbox to PC, they left a 60 frame, 60 FPS cap in Forza Motorsport. And the only way you can get around that is to inject frames like this. Whereas Assetto Corsa EVO doesn't have a cap, it's built frames. So if you'll notice, the right mirror is not working. Down into the torque screw. I have some buttons mapped on my steering wheel, so I can add or remove ABS, and I can add or remove traction control on the fly. It's amazing to me because in this guy just keep on pushing. In Forza, you set your ABS and your traction control before the race, and that's it. You're done. Alright, I think we're heading into VR. We've done a lap or two. This is the best it gets with 2D, 3D flat panel, non-VR. It's good. It's great. Very responsive. I mean, I've got it. It's doing exactly what my real wheel's doing. It feels good. It just needs some rumble to it. And if you look in the settings, controls, and some reason it adds my wheel twice. It's always done this. Fresh install, don't matter. They seem to have the very same settings. I don't know if maybe it's because there is a button on here where you can switch it from PC to PlayStation 5 mode or PlayStation mode. So maybe that's it, why it's in there twice. That's my flight stick. So you would click the wheel here, and there's where you would do your binds. You can see I've bound a handbrake, my shifting with the paddle shifters. And what else did I do? Yeah, traction control up and down. I got a couple buttons on the wheel for that. And then I think I got another one for ABS up and down. I love that having that button is just crazy good. But you could also do engine map to add or decrease power. So like, you know, when rain comes on or something. There's just so much you can do, wipers and whatnot. But click on wheel and then settings. So steering lock, in Forza, it's 540. But in here, 1080 is when it started matching what I was seeing. I don't see it running, but it's here somewhere in the Fanatec software. I have it set to where it's deferring to the game to handle everything, you know. That way I always leave that alone, and then if I go into Forza, I can do its own settings within the game. I go into EVO, I can do its own settings within the game. The base settings are the defaults on the Fanatec software. So force feedback gain, that's how difficult it is, how hard it's going to fight with you. 50% feels pretty good right now. But last night I hit a wall and I was turning, and I don't know, my thumb was kind of locked in where I was holding it, and it kind of hurt my wrist. So you have to be careful. I can't imagine 100%. That would just rip your hand off. So dynamic damping, there's not really. If you look in the bottom left here, it shows a description. Overall gain level for the steering wheel, force feedback signal. So naturally, if I crank that way up, I would feel more rumbles in the road, but they need to divorce those settings. Force feedback strength should be one thing, but force feedback rumbles and all that should be another slider. Anyway, dynamic damping, it says amount of simulated gyroscopic torque makes the steering wheel harder to turn at high speeds. Don't feel a need to change that. Okay, this one, minimum damper effect level in normal driving conditions make the steering wheel harder to turn. So that's high speed stuff, that's normal low speed stuff. Damper gain, overall gain level for steering wheel damper effect signal. Damper effect is used when the car is not moving and while the car is moving according to minimum damper. So yeah, and then there's true force gain level for Logitech True Force enabled steering wheel. That doesn't apply to me, I assume. And these are gamepad settings, so I turned that all the way down yesterday because I wanted to make sure the game was not changing how the steering wheel reacts at high speed. I don't want that. I want to be in control. And then here you got vibrations. Now that would be controller vibrations. We need a vibrations for this, for the steering wheel. So let me turn it all the way up and just see if I feel any different here. And then in the video settings, somewhere in here there was a field of view, if I remember correctly. Okay, it's not there. There's regular video settings. There's regular settings. This is just settings. This whole thing encompasses settings. But there's also view settings, and you only see view settings once you get into the game, into the race, I think. And there you see a field of view. So this is probably supposed to be more like, you know, I want to see my footwork on stream and stuff. So probably needs to be more like that, you know, if I'm in the non-VR. But in VR, it seemed like that was a better setting for me. But yeah, you can move with your arrow keys. If you get out of this menu and you're in a race, you can move with your keyboard arrow keys. You can move the camera around really easily. You don't have to grab these sliders. Motion, I have not turned any of that on. I'm showing all of it. Dashboard display and HUD. That turns off this dash and shows like a floating stuff. Mirrors. And virtual mirror would be this one up here. Scale. Offset, blah, blah, blah. Disable it altogether. Mirror field of view. Yaw and pitch. I don't have triple screens right now. I did have that, but the VR is superior. It's the way to go. All right, so that's about all the settings you have. All right, so let's get into VR. So to do that, we got to get completely out of the game. All right, let's turn off the frame gen because frame gen does not work in VR. Unfortunately, that would be beautiful, but it doesn't. Quit. Confirm. All right. So my VR setup's the Pimax Crystal Light. I'll pull it out in a second here. So in order to get into VR, I go to my Pimax Play software, and I'll show you the settings that I've landed on so far, and I might further, you know, each patch I kind of fine tune it based on the patch. Okay, it should pick up the headset in a second here. Okay, I may need to pick it up so it comes on. Yeah, there it goes. It says the screen is off. Sometimes you have to put your face in there so it detects something. We'll see if it comes on. Yeah, it's just showing a galaxy. All right. I've got the home set to just be like a picture of the galaxy or something. All right, so to launch it, we go to device settings. Always do my updates first. Right now I've got the panels in the screens in the VR. The lens is refreshing at 90 hertz. I don't see much need to run it at 120 because I'm not running 120 frames per second on the panels. I'm running more like 50. So I could probably even run 72. It might run a little cooler. I haven't experimented with it in this patch yet. IPD is just the distance, the lenses from your eyes left and right horizontally. Under the general tab, I want to make sure that OpenXR runtime is the Pimax OpenXR. If you don't have that, you'll have to run Steam VR and tell it to run in OpenXR mode. I did test that, it worked for me, but this is bypassing Steam VR altogether using the Pimax OpenXR. So I don't have to run Steam VR at all. Under the advanced settings, that's the lens adjustment, local dimming, so it has dark spots where it's dark, kind of like I don't use pass through. It has a button you can click and you can see in black and white what's actually coming off of the front camera. It's got cameras here and here, here and here. I think that's it. All right, and then there's no. I actually have not tried motion compensation. I don't know much about that yet. Interesting. I've never noticed that being available. Usually there's nothing there. Alright, so games. Common settings is like your VR settings for all applications by default. Like if you just fired it up without the Pimax software, that's what it's going to do. I was experimenting with a brighter screen to match my 45-inch OLED, so when I go into VR it's not dimmer as they often are, but it does wash out the color, so I'm going to put that back. So here I have Assetto Corsa EVO. It's picked it up twice for some reason, doesn't matter, but check enable program, render quality. I found 55% is playable, but it'll be a little blurry at distance. Text won't be as crisp. 60% resolution is a good setting for probably best frame rate, a good balance. 65, I think I probably hurt the frame rate about 5 to 10, so it's maybe closer to 45 to 55 instead of 55 to 60 frames per second. But I'll take that hit because it looks so much sharper. And then you want to check the box for Pimax OpenXR quad views. Quad views, as it mentions here, breaks down the scene into 4 distinct views. 2 outer views. They're going to run at lower resolution than the center view. Because really, when you're in the VR, you're looking at this. So all of this and this can run at low resolution, and you'll pick up frame rate by doing that. And I usually keep that on performance. I've never run that at quality because I've never seen like, oh my gosh, that peripheral looks terrible. It's a non-issue. It looks great. Don't run any of this stuff. Okay, that's a Steam VR thing. And then I got my contrast and brightness set to defaults. So you can see over here, FFR, that's fixed foveated rendering, is enabled. And that's what it's talking about, FFR. That's the OpenXR quad views. Quad views used to be something you had to run separately that some guy had developed, and it was clunky to make it work, and they finally got it incorporated into the Pimax software. So that's best case scenario. Now a little note about this box. I don't know in the current version, but in the previous version of Assetto Corsa EVO early access, if you had these open, especially this one, it would cause a ton of like lag spikes and things, micro stutters mainly. So when you start the game, you immediately want to close this and ideally minimize that, but this one doesn't seem to be as critical. So let's hit start, close, minimize quickly, and then click on the desktop to keep it in focus. So this should be in VR. The menu will look a little bit blurrier. That's usually my first indication that we're going into VR. Okay, so my desktop area is probably not 3440 by 1440p anymore. Let's just Let's go to open mode. I have set spacebar. There's a bind you can do in the settings, somewhere in there. And you can do a bind where it recenters the VR, so I've set that to spacebar. So if you see like me driving down the road and you see it suddenly snap like that, that's me recentering the VR. Right now I don't have the headset on, it's just kind of laying here. As long as the lights are nice and bright, it doesn't typically lose tracking. I don't really have any trouble with that. So now, if you look in the settings and video graphic settings, they're the very same, with the exception my desktop monitor is running at 1920 by 1080 instead of 3440 by 1440p. And so this all looks a little bit blurrier, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to be in the headset anyway. But you'll see the graphic settings, they share the same settings. Now in Microsoft Flight Simulator, you have VR graphic settings and you have your regular flat panel graphic settings. I hope that they do the same thing in this so you can flip between one and the other. You know, if you get hot or you get nauseous, you can take the VR off, continue the race in 2D, so to speak. But very same settings. Now the frame rate counter up here says 8. Obviously I'm getting more than 8. As you can see, 8 frames. Oh, I think the game just bombed out. Let's fire it back up. That's the first time it's done that. Let's see if the VR headset is still on. It may have been a Pimax thing because it looked like the screen just went dark. It may have went in a timeout. As it's connecting. Screen off. It should turn on in a second here, I would think. Yeah, it's on. Yeah, I don't know why it reset. But let's get right back into it. Device settings, games, Assetto Corsa EVO, 65%, start, close, minimize. I'm going to turn off the overlay. That may be causing problems because we don't use it in VR anyway. There is an app called FPS VR, and it will show the actual frame rate and stuff, but it only works in Steam VR. So we got frame gen turned off. Overlay, let's turn that off because it's lying to us about the frame rate anyway. Okay, open mode. Now we're in VR. Okay, so right now you're going to see my left and right eye. I'm going to change that in my recording here. So it's no longer going to capture the whole desktop. It's just going to capture, I've got it set up to capture the left eye. So while it may not be perfect for you, it should be pretty good. Uh-oh, did something happen to my, I had this all set up, let's see. It does not look right. Oh, I've got game capture going. Hang on. Still, oh, I've got display capture going too. Okay, hang on. All right, here we go. So now we've just cropped the left eye. So you'll see like some menu options. Like I've got some menu stuff popping up on the right eye. You can't see that, but actually in the race it don't matter. So we'll just get right into it. Drive. Ooh, I'm absolutely cooking in here. You open a window and stuff, but it'll be noisy, so we're not going to do that. Okay, first I want to put my headset on so I can hear the engine and stuff. So if I'm talking too loud, that's why. I'm trying to enunciate and be loud. Okay, let's get kind of seated and comfortable. Yeah, the frame rate looks good here. It's definitely not 8 frames. It looks like 60 or 80 actually. Let's hit spacebar to recenter the menu. Okay, let's go to drive. Not changing anything else. Oh, it's saying change the game mode. Single player, there we go. Laguna Seca, everything's the same. Very scientific way of testing it. You can't bounce around from track to track and compare 2D and VR. But let me tell you guys, VR is the way, and I know you'll see this video on maybe Twitch or YouTube. It will not do it justice. You don't get that sense of depth that I'm having because I have both eyes going here. All right, my right mirror is still not working. We don't have a virtual mirror at all. We have a left mirror. All right, so now we go to vehicle setup. This little splash screen takes a little too long for me. I wish it would just show it to me. I have not touched this part of the tune-up, but you can see this. The default traction control setting is level 3. ABS is level 3, so it's super safe from the factory. Slicks or wets for front and rear. Suspension, firm as hell. I left that alone. Dampers, I've not messed with those. And aero, I have not even lowered it because sometimes the front end scratches already. Ride height, yeah. So it's got a little bit of a rake. It's higher in the rear than the front. So that's that. So what I did was tweak the electronics to start at level 1 instead of 3, because I think 3 is way too much for me. But I did save that setting. Well, I thought I did. Maybe it didn't keep it. Yeah, I did click load, so it should. I guess it didn't keep my preset. I had one that was just called tuned. It's not there now. Maybe a bug in the software. I don't know. Not sure what happened to it. Let's just go drive. All right. Drive. Look behind this full field. I mean, it looks beautiful. Okay, real quick, let me pause it. Okay, we're going to get rammed into oblivion here. There's a bunch of gauges that are on the right eye that you guys can't see. So the nice thing about Evo is you can grab them and slide them. So I can move them to the left eye so you guys can see what's going on in just a second. But I'm probably going to get run into by doing that. Let's see, back to pit lane. Maybe I can adjust it in here. Yeah, so the race is starting without me. This way I won't get run over. Now I'll hit drive. Okay, so here's some tire info. Gear info. I'll just put that way up here. I don't really need to see it, but it does light up these lights for engine damage. Headlights are on, brake damage, traction control, and maybe ABS. And then it's got a left and right turn indicator. It's got an overheat, RPM. That's oil pressure. Maybe some kind of other engine thing going on there. Should be one that lights up for traction control too. So this says TC level 3, ABS level 3, brake bias 64%. That's how much pressure is being applied to the front brakes versus the rear brakes. And then that's got kilometers per hour and how much fuel in that gauge. And then there's also one, it's very subtle, but there's one over here. This one is damage. That I'll look at it, and tires a little bit maybe. I'll leave that there. So now you guys should see all of that, right? Maybe. Maybe not. I'll see it there on the screen. But it's there in VR anyway. Okay, so we're going to reset and start the session. Let's go straight into it. Spacebar to center.
Park throttle. It's got all the traction control on. Actually, we'll go full throttle. Right off the rip, I mean, I can tell a big difference in the frame rate. You know, in 88 or 80 frames in 2D, and then 160 with frame gen turned on in the AMD Adrenaline software. Yeah, what's nice about this is you can see my arms move, you can see my footwork, everything. Just checking my right mirror and it's black. So eventually I want to get like, something as powerful as an NVIDIA 4090 or 5090. I'm actually going to wait till the next gen. I'm impressed with the 5090 performance versus price. It's hardly better than a 4090 when you're talking about resolutions of like 4K and higher or VR. It's similar to 4K demands. And that would allow me to push the resolution maybe up to 80 or 100% instead of 65%. But even at 65, it's still really good. In the throttle, light throttle, got traction control on. But I love how the grass and the grass, gravel, it's not a sheet of ice like it is in Forza Motorsport. Forza Motorsport drives me bananas. You get off in the grass, you cannot turn the wheel for anything. If you touch the wall, it's a vacuum cleaner that you cannot get off of unless you yank the wheel. And obviously if you yank the wheel while you're in the grass and suddenly you're on pavement, it spins out. It's awful. I'm liking this a lot better. You see my footwork down here? So this should be about half of the frame rate I was getting in 2D, which was about 88 or so, 80. So it should be about 45 to 55. And that's great for VR. That's ideal. And I could lower that 65% Pimax Crystal Light resolution down to 50 or less, and it won't be as sharp, but the frame rate will come up considerably. It makes a big difference. Those settings 5% makes a big difference in frame rate. Oh, buddy, that's all the brake I got. Tires are up to temp, so we're going to turn off or start hitting these buttons. If you look on the dash, you can see traction control and ABS are both set at 3. We'll start turning those down. Okay, ABS is on 1 now. Dash control, primary is on 1 now. So that's going to let it drift a little bit more. If I set the traction control to 0, it's still very drivable. And if you set the ABS to 0, it wants to lock up. You would have to tune the car and reduce the brake pressure to keep it from locking up so much. That's why I push it. The front end touch, and that's why I didn't lower the car any further. Yeah, in VR, you just, instead of feeling like I'm watching a race or watching a panel, I'm in the car now. This is a much different experience. I know it won't translate perfectly on YouTube, but hopefully, they're just showing you the one eye, you're going to get a sense of what it looks like. And the Pimax Crystal Light is a very wide field of view. VR, it's around 100, 105. And whereas a lot of VR headsets are only go to about 90. And what that does is allow me to see the whole dash left to right and a little bit out of the side windows at the same time. So it's really good. It feels like I'm wearing a race helmet. It's about that kind of view where you have a little bit of peripheral point, but just a little bit. I feel like I got a helmet on. I did confirm drafting works whenever you get behind somebody at high speed. I'm going to track a little long, high speed straight. You'll hear the wind noise go away and you'll start pulling in. Really good colors, good brightness, good clarity, good frame rate. I got the wheel, the weight of the wheel, and the strength of it feels about right with these settings. Feels like I'm in a real race car again. I've got another YouTube channel that's called, well, if you do a search for Melon Racing EVO for Mitsubishi Evolution, you'll find my other YouTube channel. It's my race car days. I'll still go to the track every once in a while, but having a VR set up at home is just amazing. I don't break any car parts. I don't blow up engines. There's no wrecks that cost me money. You can get in here and have a hell of a lot of fun, risk-free. The next big purchase, if I can get my YouTube channel and my Twitch to blow up, where I might actually generate some supplemental income. The next big purchase is going to be a sim rig, some kind of motion rig. So we'll have the VR, and the motion rig, and hopefully an even faster video car soon. And I think that'll complete the experience, because I'm all about immersion. We'll take clarity, feel over high frame rate. For now. It's interesting. I feel like I bumped this car, but I didn't feel it in the wheel. And I didn't hear an audible either. Get a pass here. I've got the AI set to minimum skill level is 80%, and the maximum skill level on the track is going to be 100%. So some of these cars are 80%, some are a mix between that and 100. Sometimes you encounter a car that's crazy fast on there, and some you can't pass. Alright, well, I'm starting to absolutely cook, so I forgot to open a window or turn on a fan. Well, I didn't want to turn on the fan because I'm recording. I've got an open mic. And this, mind you, this video, I'm not going to edit any of it. This is all raw, start to finish, so I will say things incorrectly or maybe difficult to hear at times. Apologize. But I wanted to give you just a straight raw video. Jump into the game. This is what it's going to do. But this is fun, guys. This is what you want to get to. Highly recommend the Pimax Crystal Light. It's a wonderful VR headset. And it's well priced. I think you can spend under $1,000 for it. Sometimes they have deals with free shipping. You definitely want to check out their Discord channel. They have deals going on. ones that have trade-in programs. So a while back they were doing HTC Vive, I think it was. You trade in the HTC Vive or something like that to get a discount. The nice thing about the Pimax is it doesn't require Windows Mixed Reality, whereas my HTC Vive did and my HP Reverb G2, they both require Windows Mixed Reality, and Microsoft has pulled the plug on that. So if you have Windows 10 or 11 and you already have Windows Mixed Reality and your headset's still working, make sure you don't grab another Windows update because it'll patch it right out of there. But the Pimax kit has its own driver for the headset, so it doesn't. That was pretty terrible of Microsoft to game something that was working perfectly fine. Kind of makes me wonder if they have a new headset coming out or something that's not going to use it and they're trying to, you know, force people into that. There's got to be a reason. But to my knowledge, there is no VR headset for Xbox. Maybe they'll do something. PlayStation has a VR headset. I understand this game will have crossplay, but probably much later. And I don't know if the crossplay will only be between Xbox and PlayStation 5. That way they can send rapid hot fixes and patches to PC players on the fly. They don't have to get certified or none of that baloney like they do with Microsoft and PlayStation, which greatly delays things. Down the video here, I did want to mention that I do have not only this YouTube channel that I'd like for you guys to subscribe to, so you get updates about the Pimax, any updates about Assetto Corsa EVO. I'll do another video, and also I have a Discord channel. You guys are welcome to hang out there because my long-term goal with this is to grow the channel. Because I want to build a community. I want to build a dedicated server so we can keep the rammers out, the toxic people out, and just have good, clean, fun racing. The goal will be to allow passing, no blocking, just fast and fun. Now, blocking on the last lap, you know, that's questionable. Maybe you can do that, but I don't prefer to be in lobbies where people are like trying to be in the way and just make it a frustrating experience. I've got a group of about 100 super clean, fast racers and some not fast racers that I'm the curator for that list for Forza Motorsport, and we have a great time because we can set up private lobbies and get out of the open multiplayer rammer areas. So I'm going to be dual streaming on Twitch and YouTube today. And so if you have Twitch, you can see it there, or YouTube. I'm going to combine the chat so you guys on screen can see each other chatting to each other. So we're going to build that community. We'll get the dedicated server going and just really grow the thing into something fantastic. And I can't wait. Can't wait to race with you guys. I think we're just going to have so much fun with this game. This is the future of racing. Forza Motorsport is the past. They refuse to add VR support. They refuse to fix the penalty system. It assigns the penalties to everybody and their brother. Usually the rammer doesn't get one. You get the penalty because they'll ram you into somebody else and that kind of thing. So we're kind of done with Forza. As soon as this goes online multiplayer, we're absolutely done with Forza. I'll have no use for it at that point. This is a superior product even in early access, in my opinion. All right, again, my name is Chris, aka Melon Popper. You can call me Melon. I respond to that and much more, much worse. But yeah, this is it. This is what we're going to do, guys. So if you have any questions about the setup, if you have any problems with the setup, I've got some VR specific guides already on my YouTube channel, and with those you can see how to fix the game if it doesn't want to launch. Let me pull up my desktop capture. See
you can see this. You can see what kind of videos I look at. But yeah, I've got a YouTube channel. I've got 2 YouTube channels. One's for my racing career, real life, and then this one is gaming. So that's it here. It sorts by videos. A lot of these are Forza recently, and then there's some Evo stuff. But you can probably just search here if you're looking for Evo specific stuff. There you go. This one's been really popular for me. I don't get many views, but 1,100 views for me is pretty tremendous on my gaming channel. But this one in particular, I go through how to fix Assetto Corsa EVO. There's some files you can delete so you don't have to reinstall the whole game. If you get your graphics or controller settings out of whack, there's separate files for those. You can delete those and then start the game back up, and it'll recreate those automatically. It shows you the path, how to get to it, and everything. So yeah, I go through the path and where the files are located, which ones to delete, you know, how to verify integrity of the files afterwards, all that good stuff. And then some of these others, that one's kind of ripping on how the AI and how bad it was. Previous VR settings that were working, testing a new track that was added, previous patch VR stuff, a little clip about how bad the AI is. Yeah, this was a previous patch. The AI was absolutely brain dead. It seems like they've made some huge strides in that. This video is comparing EVO in VR versus Forza Motorsport on the same track, Mount Panorama. And you can see the texture details much better in Assetto Corsa EVO. And with VR, of course, you have the undulating hills. You have that sense of depth. So yeah, so there's some good guides on there, and if you're into Microsoft Flight Simulator, there's some for that. There's some for BeamNG and how to get it working with multiplayer, how to get War Thunder working with the Pimax Crystal Light, and then some of this older stuff is a lot of funny first-person shooter game meme videos. I used to make a lot of those. All right. So yeah, and then we got the Discord as well. Show you that real quick. Yeah, so there's our Discord channel. It's not fancy. It's the basics. In fact, I need to add an Evo channel here. I'll do that in a minute. But I have it set to where it's subscribe to gaming news for a lot of the popular games that we play in my group. So it gets updates about Forza and War Thunder and Battlefield and a lot of other stuff. Microsoft Flight Simulator, Dirty Bomb. That Dirty Bomb didn't get updates anymore, but that's my favorite first-person shooter. I have a dedicated gaming server just for that. We pack it every night. It's a great game. Came out just before Overwatch, and Overwatch kind of took some things from that, I think. But anyway, yeah, looking forward to racing with you guys. So I'm going to end the video here. Give me some questions in the comments, and technical or otherwise, and I'll be glad to help you out any way I can. I've done 30 plus years of corporate level Fortune 500 and banking system. I've been a computer systems engineer. I've been a race car driver, tuner, builder. I've had race car shops, so I could probably help you in some areas that you may be struggling with. Just give me a shout. All right, appreciate it, dudes. We'll catch you on the track. See ya.